Good morning, gut buckets.
From around the world to your backyard.
Zuzu Radio.
Welcome to Zuzu Radio. I'm your host, Brandon. I'm here with
Noah Falck.
Noah. Thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure.
We've been trying to make this happen for a minute, right? Like maybe a year or more?
I think so. I remember listening to a few of your very first episodes and was like, this is cool, man. I'm glad he's doing this. I'd love to talk to him. You know?
And then 2 years go by and we're making it happen.
And
now.
here we are. Here we are.
So glad we locked in. Since it's been a while and we've been, kind of building up to this, I've had time to think, and I came up with some odd questions. I think too much time, I may have gotten a little weird with it.
I love it.
So before we get into your background, I just want to see what comes to mind first for you when I ask you some things that are a little abstract. Is that cool?
Absolutely.
Okay. Big one to start off. What is the greatest poem ever written?
Holy crap, that is a big one. The first thing that comes to mind is Leaves of Grass. I think just because of the scope of it, the history of it, how it sort of transformed contemporary language, and is rooted in sort of wildness and freedom and lyric power.
Who's the author of
Walt Whitman.
Oh, okay,
Leaves of Grass, Walt Whitman. So, there's too many poems that are ringing in my head now, but I think that's one that I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I think it's probably a poem that is so steeped and heavy in history and language that it transcends and is continued to be taught and thought about and dissected and reinterpreted. And it's Whitman's. I think he kind of created the landscape of language in which the American people are walking on today.
Wow. And what was his era? I'm not so well versed on the history.
So he was like Abraham Lincoln's time period, Civil War. I'm not a huge history guy, but like him and Lincoln were in similar rooms together, and
I see,
and sharing language and thinking big. In a time where we needed big thinkers. We always need big thinkers, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
Does it seem true in some way that at the time when the country was maybe having its latest revision on one that's been in motion for even till now, that Whitman's words are still kind of the foundation, like you said? I mean, there was so much upheaval and change and rethinking of the American ideal. And at that same time, the art that was occupying that space is maybe like extra ingrained in us, do you think?
I mean, I love that thought. I mean, I think we constantly need to be thinking about change and inclusionary ideas and dismantling what has come before us, or maybe dismantling maybe an aggressive idea, but like, yes, dismantling, but also like rethinking, reshaping what we've learned. Like take what we've learned and make it our own. And I think often we don't do that enough, or don't give people the chance to do that enough.
Yeah. Do you see... I'm getting off topic already.
No, it's good.
So interesting.
I'm into it.
Do you see sort of a recycling of tone in poetry? I mean, like you said, maybe Whitman set the foundation, but I notice sometimes that I can see certain voices that... And same in music.
Absolutely.
Where it's just like so borrowed and so recycled that you're like, ooh, where's that next step,
Yes.
Are there people taking big next steps now, or do you feel like it's sort of in that circular way?
I think they are always taking big steps, or big next steps. I mean, I think it's, to your point about music, like everything is derivative. Like you see something, there's a reason there's a magnetism that brings you to that. That is yourself. Like, why do I like this poem? What is it doing? And I think that's part of the excitement about art is like, why am I drawn to this? Why do I like this song? Why do I like this record? Why do I like that painting? And then you sort of just continue to return to it, and it feeds you, and then you have to kind of pull it apart and like, why is this word doing this thing for me? Why am I thinking about, why is my brain lighting up when I read this out loud? Or so to go back to the question, I think it's like, it's exciting because each generation has their own voice, and like it needs to be lifted and raised and scaffolded into sort of a new existence.
Yeah, very true. And sort of something you said there jumped out to me, the difference between reading something internally and reading it out loud. Do you find that there's a profound difference in the experience between the two?
I do. I mean, in terms of when I write poems or when I write anything, a big part of my revisionary process is reading it out loud, hearing the words in the air. Hearing my own voice with the words, I think, is a thing too. There are some words I can say really well and other words I can't. So it's like some of that, like, what are the words that are your power?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's something about, I love the word earth. And like, there's a softness, but there's a solidness. And maybe that's also in the meaning, but it's also in the sound of the word. So there's something about, finding those words and then how do you work those into your own stories or your own poems or whatever, or your own songs. And like,
Yeah.
I think there's a truth in there too.
That's so interesting. It's like, I guess it's kind of like watching a movie with the sound off.
I mean,
You're missing a big part of the experience, right?
that's an exercise. I think I used to do this to provide that to my students. Like, okay, turn on TV late at night onto a channel you don't usually watch, turn off the volume and write either describe what's going on, write the dialogue between the characters. Like, there's an invention in there. Like, invite invention, invite weird, and things will come out of that.
Oh, man, you're speaking my language here.
I mean, it's good.
It's so good to get a little weird with it sometimes.
Absolutely.
All right, back to my original list here. What was... this is, like, unanswerable, I'm sure, but I just want to see what you say. What was the first poem ever written?
So the first, to my knowledge, the first poem ever spoken, because poetry comes out of the spoken oratory history. So there was, I would think Ovid, some Greek poet, I think, that was passed down. And then after a while, I mean, they were just told around campfires and told at, gatherings. And I don't know exactly who that would be. I want to say Ovid, but I'm not 100% sure. This is like, it just feels like a Jeopardy question almost.
Yeah.
But I think it's not written down. I know that they were eventually written down over time,
Right.
but it was just spoken, it's kind of like stories. Like, I think that's a thing I think about. It's like, how do we know our family stories? Like, some of those not all of those are written down.
Right.
They're like passed from generation to generation. And they're often changed over time.
True.
And
Yeah.
and some of those legends or family traditions or stories are told. I don't know. There's something about that.
Yeah.
That sort of oral communication through history and time.
Yeah, it sounds like in some ways the history of the tribe, for instance, is communicated in a way that's beyond conversation. It reaches sort of an art form, and maybe the artistic quality of it is part of the retention.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that's like, in our genes, like in our blood and bones and things, we also have this like family history, this lineage that's all of our ancestry is inside of us, and so that's one part of it. But then to remember the stories and to really embody them, taking them from the level of conversation into a new tier seems like a good way to really remember.
I love that. And I think that there's, again, like a truth and power in that. And also, when you're saying that, made me think of like the trauma. Not to go there, but like, I don't think that people realize, or I didn't realize until fairly recently, like, that I'm living with all kinds of trauma that I inherited, and everybody's inherited that. In terms of like the stories you inherit, the people you come from, the things that they went through. I think about that. I've thought about that more recently, since I've had a little person around me and stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
what am I passing to this one?
Right. Yeah. And what do you even have control over in terms of the passing?
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh man. All right. Well, we'll pause on that. But here's my next question to you.
Yeah.
What is the perfect length of a poem? How long should a poem be for you?
Great question. My favorite length is the sonnet form. So that's either 12 or 14 lines, depending on the style of sonnet. I think it's like it gives you enough space to do a thing, but it doesn't take enough space where people are wandering off in different directions. So I think it's like, I love a haiku. I love short poems, and actually 12 lines is a short poem. But it's like, how do you drop somebody inside of 12 lines of poetry and then they walk out at the other end a different person? So that's kind of always, I think, the goal is like, after someone reads one of your poems, the first line pulls them in, and by the last line, they're completely different. Emily Dickinson take your head off. What's something that's going to take your head off?
Oh,
and I
cool.
think in 12 lines, you can do that.
Yeah. It's funny, the idea of 12 lines feels really parallel to lyrical structure, where it's like verse 1 through 4, and then you'll have a chorus hook that's like haiku.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's really interesting, sort of the musical nature of poetry. It's sort of built in.
They have to, and I don't know where that offspring happens, poetry and song, or where they split and where they do this all the time, right? And some people are, oh, that songwriter's a poet, or that rapper is a poet, or whatever. But and they are, but they're not necessarily identified. I mean, that's a whole nother topic.
Right. It seems like you could call someone a poet when they breach like the human condition in a way where it's like, whoa, that's beyond like Party in the USA. It's like a little deeper than that.
I don't know, man. I mean, I think all that.
I guess it's all good.
I think it's all good.
Like
I go in that space of like, people are like, well, define poetry, and I'm like, there's the academic definition, the things in textbooks that we read. There's the natural interpretation of a poetry as something beautiful, something lyrical, something that you can sing. And I think a lot of that, again, I think a lot of art forms are in that space of what poetry is already. Whether it's a painting, like, wow, that painting, I love looking at that. I just want to sit in front of it. Or I just want to play this song I just want to play this record over and over. And I think all that is a form of poetry. I think it's like something that, to me, it's like a form of like excitement and being alive, but some of that it's rooted in language often.
Yeah. The being alive, the remembering you're alive,
you're alive.
The kind of shutting out past and future, and like certain artistic experiences force you into the now in a way that you cannot disassociate from. You're like, oh, I'm here with this song right now. And I think sometimes that's like the interest in playing it over. It's like, take me back to that just I can just be right here.
It's the best. I think with music, and I don't want to reveal too much, but I was really into that that Cameron Winter record last year, heavy metal. And this, I don't know, this could go downhill, but I think half of that was it felt new, but it was rooted in old. It was rooted in all these things that I was excited about when I was younger, the Rolling Stones and, maybe some of the Stroke songs that I remember. But also, it's like a 22, 23-year-old writing these visceral, lyrical, open-ended songs. It just felt like you're discovering a new voice. And I mean, it's been written about too much, I think, at this point with that band Geese and stuff. But I think there's a reason for why they're getting all this hype. And I don't always fall for that hype stuff, but this feels different. I don't know.
Are you liking Geese?
I like the Cameron Winter guy more than the whole band. I think the band is probably more talented than Cameron Winter in terms of musical. I'm liking them. I think it's, with the hype and over media, with today's culture, I'm concerned, how do you follow that up?
Oh, right, yeah.
What do you do next?
Yeah.
And I get nervous, similar with poets, that poet, I think about that with Ocean Vuong, who's not a great example, but his first book was like a shooting star, right? This guy's in New York Times and he's on the cover of this and that. And he followed it up with a novel that was similarly so he's a unicorn. But I think that it can be detrimental to have too much publicity, too much media coverage. I mean, I think particularly in music, I think about it a lot. Like,
for
how do
sure.
you the sophomore album, the record that comes out next after this thing, right?
Yeah, the slump.
The slump.
A lot of times people will say that you have your whole life to write your first album, and then you've got a year to write the second.
Right.
Especially if the first one's good and they're like demanding, get the
Yeah.
second one out.
Yes.
So there's definitely something to that. It's so easy for me to speak in musical terms about
Sure.
what we're talking about, so I'm going to kind of use this in terms of your own process and as you're building your poems, specifically with the length and the idea of someone entering the poem and leaving differently.
Yeah.
A lot of times in my class, in my music production class, I'm trying to explain to students that you have to create an on-ramp for someone because they won't perceive the art in such a detailed form as the author.
Right.
And you have to kind of like ease them into that world so that it can change them. Are you like aware of that as you're writing? Are the beginnings of your poems like an open door? Or do you say, I don't care how it's perceived, I'm just trying to be true?
That's such a great question, and I love that you offer that advice to your students too, because I think it's an important skill to kind of think about. It's something to think. How do you want this to? And I guess to answer it rather, to jump into it, like I think the first couple lines of a poem, really the title, which I wouldn't say I'm great at titles, and I often have been working in these methods of like, if I come up with a title that I like, then I'll just try to write a bunch of poems that live under that title. So like some people call that like a serial poem. Like I'll write the next book and sort of the project I did with Plant Water and Ariel Berg-Reiger was called Fatigue Performance. So it's this idea, so that's the title of, 10, 15, 20 poems. And the idea is like rooted in being exhausted all the time, being in this culture of, again, I'm going to say like media overload, one bad thing happening to another on a global scale, right?
Yeah.
And then having to go to work and be happy and be a good, show up as a husband, show up as a father, which is a performance in some cases because you don't want to, and also you don't want to, we talked about this earlier, like, I don't want to just be sad.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I am sad in my poems, I think, which is not always great. Like I'm also trying to write happier stuff, which is difficult for me.
Is it a place that you can put it though, so that it doesn't bleed into the other roles? you
Maybe.
have?
I don't know. I don't necessarily think of writing as a therapeutic space for me. I know it is. Like it's more of a meditative space for me, like a place where I can find silence and find my thoughts.
Yeah.
But I think it absolutely is a therapeutic space, and people should be using it for that. But the idea of like, okay, here's this one title I like. Let me write as many poems underneath that idea as I can, and then just put it as a section of the book, And that's kind of the thing I did last. I've done it a few times. And my previous book was called Exclusions, which was every poem was trying to write an idea out of the poem. So they were all like poem excluding war, poem excluding parking meters, poem excluding love, poem excluding, air quotes was one. So it's like, how do you write that idea or object or thing out? And that was kind of creating a restriction helped me do that,
Yes, definitely. That is the one thing I found that's most important in my work is to narrow the boundaries
Yes.
of what's possible. If I could write any song, and I've explored many genres, then
Yeah.
I don't know where to begin.
Yep.
But as soon as you close the boundary in, or you say, I'm going to start with this instrument, or I'm going to start with this particular concept, it's like sort of like the tunnel opens, and you can see at the end there's a light there.
Yeah.
I just got to start moving my way along,
It's huge. I mean, it's also something that you can return to, like you can start a thing and continue to go back to like, oh, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. And you'll know when you're done, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, sometimes you got to just be like, I'm done.
I'm done. That's right.
Or somebody needs to
Walk
tell
away.
you, stop.
That's so good.
What purpose would you say? I have this written as what purpose do poems serve for humans, but maybe what purpose do stories or what purpose does art serve? How did this whole practice of like expressing a feeling into the physical world, because that's pretty much what this stuff is, right? How did this get started and why has it continued?
I mean, that's another. These are huge questions.
I know, dude, I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry.
No, I love it though. I love thinking about it. Like I think people need to see themselves in other people, and I think art is one of those immediate spaces that allows you to see yourself. You know, like poems also create these sort of, I think of them often as like empathy machines, because, you know, all the different kinds of people from all over the world who are engaged in the practice and the art of writing poems, they're all writing from a different place, from a different experience. And I think like reading that also allows you to like realize how big the world is, and how many voices there are, which is exciting, and how many people you haven't discovered. And it feels like there's an endless possibility of wonder and creativity. So I think the poems and art do that. Like they make the world bigger, but they also help you realize and see yourself in other people, which is so important, I think.
Yeah, maybe never more important than right now.
Never. I keep saying we're living in the era of now more than ever. You know?
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Okay. We've reached the end of the big questions.
Okay, good.
We're going to dig into your process a little bit.
Okay, sweet.
I want to start with a spicy one. What are the traps of bad poetry, in your opinion?
The traps of bad poetry?
Yeah, like
what do you mean?
Like if you're reading something and you can sense that the expression is stifled in some way.
Okay. I mean, I think that cliches or, you know, returning to the same old imagery that has been used, and I think you have to write through it. You have to write for you. I feel like you have to write bad poetry to write good poetry. So it's going to take you, and I'm assuming it's probably similar with any art form. Like you have to start somewhere, and you have to struggle, and you have to be bad forever to even be good. And I don't even know if I'm good. Like I think it's like, you know, you have to love the act of making, the process of trying to figure out what the voice wants, or, you know, how you want to express yourself. And I think the bad poetry just kind of gives up or feels inauthentic. That's a generic answer. But like, I think it's like, it doesn't go far enough. Like it doesn't open up a new space of thinking, or it doesn't provide you with a sense of like a sense of awe at like, shit, I've never seen a tree, like I've never thought of a tree like that, or I've never looked in a puddle that way, or seen a bus move that way, whatever is in the poem. It makes it new. Like a good poem makes it new.
Yeah.
You know, you're seeing it for the first time. And a bad poem's like, I've seen that before.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah.
I know that. I mean, I've written that too.
Right.
know?
Well, what's interesting in some ways, first of all, I totally agree that you really have to love the process and detach from the outcome, because you're going to be doing the process most of the time. And then the outcome is a fleeting, you know, it goes online or in stores or something, and you're like, I hope people like it.
Yeah.
But most of the time you're at your desk, or I'm at my computer, like working. And
Exactly.
if I don't love that, that's a problem.
Yep.
The other thing is that the idea of writing bad stuff before you can write good stuff is so true, but there's this little thing baked in that I've noticed with my students, which is that they love their stuff until they write the next thing, and then they hate the thing they just wrote.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm cringing so hard. That's terrible. I'm like, but you just loved it. And I think it's just a matter of, first of all, you're getting like the rush of like, I made something.
Right.
But then I can see them growing in real time. Like I can be better than that. And so
important.
That's what it's all about, is like not getting trapped in I've got to make it perfect from the beginning.
Yep.
but more so like as time goes on, I'll get better and better.
It's, oh gosh, I love that. And it makes me think of, it makes me think of a lot of students, and particularly my kid, and the idea of like, it's almost like, I don't want to call it a maturity thing, but like you've got to give it time. It's not going to happen immediately. And I think it's like, with any homework assignment or, hey, can you write this paper? And academic things are different, but like you got to sit with it. You got to figure out what do you want to say, and you can't. And it's just everything feels so rushed with some of the younger folk. And my kid. I'm talking about like a 10-year-old, but like it's rushed. Like you don't have time to do this. Sit down, like. But there's all these things. There's the distractions of the world around all the time. And
seeing other people put something out and it's great, and you're like, I need to get my thing out, and I'm falling behind, and the pressure people put on themselves is often the worst.
It's a real thing. I mean, you see it, and but I think that's another maturity thing. It was like you got to be yourself, or it's not going to be good anyway.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it's very easy to compare yourself or want to be in the same same boat as these people who have done a thing, and I think it's important to just tell yourself like it's okay, like it'll come when it comes. And if it doesn't, that's all right too. And I think it goes back to that process of, you don't like writing or creating a thing, if you don't like struggling, then get out of the game.
You won't like this.
You're not gonna like it.
Well, that's a perfect segue, because I'm curious how your poems come to you, if there's like a certain practice you do to idea generate, and have you ever been blocked for a prolonged period of time, and what was that like, and how did you find your way out?
Both great questions. I do have a practice. I want to say a daily practice, but I have not done that over the holiday. I fell out of the loop of the. I typically wake up before my wife and daughter and crawl up to my attic studio space and spend an hour and a half just writing or revising, trying to look at old poems and make them look at the skeletons and try to make them into a body. And like that, I think is for me. It doesn't work for everybody, but I think trying to have a cutout of time every day, during the weekdays. I don't do it on the weekends. Try to get 5 days a week, an hour and a half a day where I'm actually generating something. And it might not, and when I say generating something, it could be 10 lines. And I think that's the goal of like, try to get 10 lines, look at 10 lines, revise 10 lines, not like, hey, I'm going to write a fully complete piece of art here. I'm going to try to write 10 good sentences. And I think that's, and some days, most days, I would say, that's not happening. But I think it's like about making the time. So I think the process is just showing up. And in terms of if I've gone through like a drought, yes, absolutely. Semi-regularly. And I want to say like during the height of the pandemic, that was really hard to just kind of return to the value of making things. Like there were, and I think a lot of people felt the weight of the world on them, and how do we keep making? Do we keep making? But I think it's like, it was really important. But I had, 3 or 4 months where I didn't do anything. And often in those places, I'll return to art. I'll look at art. I'll look at paintings. I'll watch film. I'll listen to music. And it's often like those other art forms, and I'm reading poems and novels and stuff, but like the other art forms come in and help me kind of pull myself out of myself. And it just feels like I can look at I can watch a film, or I can go to the AKG or whatever, go to a gallery and look at a painting and just be like, let my brain think about this painting. Give time to the painting. And often language will appear for me through looking at like, why this color red? There's a story behind this red. There's just like, this was painted in like 1700s. What is that? What am I thinking about? What is the story that I want to tell? Not that I need to, but like sometimes it just starts happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I had wondered if you read more than you write, or if reading is a big part of the writing, which I'm sure in some ways it is, but it's fascinating to hear that other art forms can sometimes, if things are blocked, can do the unlocking.
Yeah, I find I get away. I'm reading all the. I shouldn't say I'm reading all the time, but I am reading all the time. I also would say that I think reading and writing are the same thing. I think they're in the same mode of thinking and discovery. And I think that act of reading and writing, particularly, well, the act of reading is kind of like, it's a shared experience with the writer. So when you're reading, you're kind of thinking with the writer. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why, like, somebody like a George Saunders, I'm like, that guy just thinks in a way that excites me. Like, how he thinks about a sentence makes me, like, excited.
Yeah.
Which is weird to say, but, like, I think that's the whole thing. Like, if you can get somebody excited about thinking about language, then they're doing something right. But, like, I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that?
Well, here, let me jump in and tell you that in high school, or just in my early reading days, I never encountered anything that made me feel that way. And it put me off of reading, and I think it puts a lot of young people off of reading.
Absolutely.
And then something happened. I found Cormac McCarthy, All the Pretty Horses. I read All the Pretty Horses, and I went, whoa,
Crazy.
where was this?
Crazy,
Like,
yeah.
I am, like, there. I'm talking about, like, reading with the author. I just feel like I'm in the world they built, and I've, like, left my own, you know? And
it's the best.
It's just so important to, and it's so different for everybody, but to find those sources that really inspire you, you know?
I mean, I truly believe everybody has that gateway book, and once you find it, you find one or two of those, and then you read everything well, not always, but you read most of that by the author, and then you read the things that inspired that author, and then that author, and then you're on a web of discovery. And I think, I was going to say before, like, why I often turn to art or other art forms outside of language when I'm in those drought spaces is because language feels like I'm trying to saturate myself in it sometimes. And if I go and listen to go to a rock show, listen to a record, go to the gallery, and just remind myself, like, this is all doing stuff too, you know? And, like, let's think about this stuff for a little bit. And then it's like doing a different thing in the brain.
Yeah, definitely. I think as an artist, it's important to program your life experience to feed. I think it personally to feed your art. It's like, what can I go do? Who can I be in contact with? Who can I talk to on a Zuzu radio podcast that's going to inspire me to do my next thing?
Yeah, totally.
And it's just so important. Backing up just a little bit.
Yep.
You write in, like, a lofted space. Is there, like, a giant triangle in front of you when you write?
There is, yeah. It's like a triangle attic, buffalo attic. It was a COVID project where we gutted it and just made it into this, like, open studio space, and it's just got all my books, because all my books were downstairs, and my wife's like, can we get these out of here? I mean, literally, like, hundreds and hundreds of books, just stacks. It's not, and I get it, like, it's not, like, always pleasant to have just, I prefer sitting around books. Not everybody's into that. But all the books are up there. Got my desk, got a nice little couch. It's cool, man. It's like a sanctuary space.
It looks awesome, dude.
Oh my God.
It had me curious if you believe in the power of shapes at all, because I guess triangles and sort of focused energy, and there's something there, I think. I don't know.
That's interesting. No, I wouldn't say I'm not anti-shape.
That'd be a hot take. We can't have that.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I guess I'm more of a color person, though you wouldn't tell by how I dress, but, like, I prefer colors, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
And you write in the morning exclusively. You said before people wake up, you're there doing it.
I think it's, for me, I'm a morning person. At the end of the day, I'm like, I typically read in the night, write in the morning. My brain's just most active in the morning when I'm awake. And at the end of the day after work and kid stuff, it's just like a different way of thinking. So I'm fresh, and I've been trying to also just not even open the phone in the morning. Like, don't look at social media. Just, like, let's go to the page. You know, some of that's just subconscious coming out too, like letting the unknowns fall into place.
Do you feel like just after leaving the dream space and meeting the page that some of it transfers on?
Absolutely. I think it's not overthinking, when you're writing something, but like trying to get an image down, like trying to describe a certain thing, and that thing will inevitably take you somewhere. So yeah, I think there is some kind of dream dust that comes out when you're waking up, and let's get it down,
Yeah,
Not
definitely.
that I necessarily write dream poems. Well, I have written dream poems, but like there's something about that.
Yeah, they say, well, there's the whole Lynchian transcendental meditation idea of loosening the like bonds of reality.
Yeah.
Like when you're sleeping, your mind sort of unfolds into like any possibility.
Yes.
There's no consensus reality. It's just all there. And when you're coming out of that, you maybe have access to something that's a little more exciting than what would happen as the hours go through the day and you start to come back to reality.
Totally.
Yeah.
100%.
I think, maybe I'm wrong here,
Yeah.
your earliest published work was Homemade Engines from a Dream,
That's correct.
and
That's really impressive.
Pudding House Publications.
Yeah.
What was it like to make that first step? Did it feel really profound and exciting to be like, wow, I've got something published?
I can't, to be honest, I can't exactly recall, but like, I feel like it was scary. And also that I had no idea what I was doing. Yeah. Those are the two things I do recall. Sure, it was exciting. Like, oh yeah, I have a little tiny chat. It was like a chapbook, kind of like a zine type thing. But I had no idea what I was doing, but I felt like I loved doing it. So like, why not make it into a thing? And in this small little press in Columbus, publish it. And I kept doing it after that,
I was going to ask if it sort of fed you to take the next step. Like you saw a win, you could chalk a win up on there, and then said, maybe I can do this next thing.
I think so. Like in writing, and I don't think there's a path. I think everybody has to find their own path to discovering their voice or what they want to do with it. But I think in writing, how traditionally it's set up, whereas you write poems, you feel good about them, you submit them to a literary journal or some kind of publication. They might publish one. You do that 20 times, then you have 20 published pieces, and you're like, oh, maybe this is a book of something. It doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes like, oh, I've written a book, I'm going to submit it as a book to this other thing. But I think it's a process of like, yeah, if I feel good about something, then I'll send it to a place that I admire and for editors that I admire, and then they'll publish it. And then over time, you're like, oh, wow, I've actually published a lot of stuff that some I don't know who's reading it, but like maybe some people are reading it. And I think it is like the follow through of like, you don't necessarily need to publish, but I like sharing it with people, I think that's a part of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I often say that if I didn't set a personal deadline for myself, I would have, thousands of songs on a hard drive somewhere that no one's ever heard.
Yeah.
That I spent, hours and hours of my life on, where I wasn't hanging out with my partner or, hanging out with my dog or sitting, outside looking at the clouds. There's things you sacrifice to do the work. You got to find a way to deliver.
I think particularly in your case, I think it's better for the world that stuff's out, and it's better for Buffalo, like you've put some amazing stuff out, and we need that. Like we need that stuff out.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I got to ask then, how did you go from this kid who was, really unsure, nervous, and, doing this first publication into this older, wiser, like a shepherd of the literary scene is what I'd call it now.
That's very sweet.
In the region, like you've ascended to a place, and we could talk about just Buffalo Literary Center and
Sure.
just, your role there, but like, when I think of literary art in Buffalo, you're one of the first people that come to mind.
That's generous, and I'm grateful that you've said all that. And again, I don't know how. The path is undetermined. I don't know. Like, how do you find your way, right?
Yeah.
You kind of tumble down a hill or something.
You tumble down the hill.
You tumble
That's a
down
good
the
way to
hill.
put it.
So, I was in Dayton, Ohio. I was teaching 4th and 5th graders for many years, and that's when I was writing those early poems that were not good. I'd never got an MFA in creative writing, so I don't have that, study of literature. sort of non-traditional pathway of, I got a master's degree in literacy for reading. So I was teaching at-risk kids how to read. So I was like excited in that process of getting kids who didn't like to read, who hated words, who hated the struggle. Like, how do you get them not to struggle? And it was poetry. It was these short form poems, these Carlos Williams poems. It was these little shape image poems that we could read together. We would read them all choral out loud. Like, let's read The Red Wheelbarrow. Okay. And over time, I was like, I just got obsessed with poetry. Like, there was a stretch where I didn't do the MFA, but like I kind of had my own, I had community online. This is kind of the blogosphere boom of the early 2000s when everybody had a blog.
Yeah.
And there was a rich literary community online, and I discovered a lot of writers around my age, maybe a little bit older, who were publishing on indie presses across the country, and I was reading all that stuff and just immersed myself in it. And I met people virtually at the time, and over time we just became friends. We met at writing conferences, and I got the gig at Just Buffalo. We moved up to Buffalo, and I just felt like, well, let's keep this going. Like, let's keep really the answer is community, I think. Like, the answer is community. But I think how you find community is different for everybody. But I think it's important to kind of keep building and opening community for people, because it's hard to kind of walk in the doorway of a literary place, and if you haven't written a book, or you haven't read The Canyon or whatever, like, so you got to kind of be welcoming and accepting and find people where they are, meet people where they are, and try to find their path down the hill,
Yeah. I'll never forget walking into the Buffalo Drum Outlet when I had just started playing drums and feeling like so scared. Like, so terrified by the scene of people who had been doing it for so long and had so much knowledge, and I'm just this dumb little kid, and what do I know? And and then you talk to the owner, and he's the nicest guy in the world, and he's showing you around and letting you hit on stuff, and it's like, wow, this is really cool. Someone's like guiding me in. They're not gatekeeping, they're opening the gate. And you really need that. That's so huge. The community part cannot be overstated, I guess. It's
crazy, and I think it's I'm trying to think about like how literary spaces are often perceived, and I think this is often another thing maybe we might talk about, is just like poetry readings, like the word, oh, I'm going to a poetry reading. Like, in the mind, I still think of like, I'm not going to say like the turtleneck situation, but like, kind of people dressed in all black and glasses pushed up to their faces tight, and like kind of, noise or nose in the air, kind of this snooty,
little
smart,
stuffy.
A little stuffy. Like, I don't necessarily think they are like that. They're clearly not like that. But I want to completely tear that idea down out of people's minds with what poetry readings are. And I think that, they should be lively, active, fun, silly spaces of wonder and awe,
Yeah. You read a poem at a meat raffle, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is that the weirdest place you've read, or are there weirder?
That's pretty weird. No, that might have been the weirdest. Like, I've tried to do stuff in like grocery store aisles.
Oh, cool.
But that's not really weird. That's kind of fun. A meat raffle, like, some people don't even know what a meat raffle is. Like, back from my hometown, they're like, what the hell is that? People are...
It's a weird thing. I guess it's a Western New York thing.
It might be. It's unusual. I think they're hilarious, though.
Yeah. Well, when you read in a grocery store aisle or at a meat raffle, what does it do to the word? Maybe not what does it do to the words. What does it do to the listener to be in an unexpected encounter with poetry?
What a question. Wow, I'm trying to think of, like, I think the job of poetry, again, is kind of to, like, make you see or hear something new, or, like, make you look at the world from a slant that you're like, oh, I never thought about that before. Maybe, and then it maybe changes your perception on on reality, on like how are you gonna how are you gonna live now that you know this, or now that you have this other art a part of you, this other language, this other experience a part of you. And I think that reading at the meat raffle, I wanted it. I recall because I wrote this poem about the meat raffle at the meat raffle, and I was wanting it to be kind of silly, but also lines of like some heavy poetic language, like calling attention to the wet hot dogs, and like, which is silly, but also like reading it in a really poet. And so it was more, it almost felt like on the verge of stand-up comedy, but I was dead serious, and it was an authentic poem, like.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So I don't know. I think a lot of it's just having an authentic experience with language, and a new experience, and hopefully people are open to it. Which is my biggest thing, is like, if you've never been to a poetry reading, you should go to one and be open about it. Don't already have this thing, this idea in your head that this is going to suck.
Right. Yeah. Well, it reminds me kind of what you've managed to do with the silos. You've taken poetry into this new space, and it changes everyone's perception. I mean, the auditory sensation of the experience is completely different, not to mention that the environment is so different. And have you noticed that people are changed in a different way than they would be otherwise in a different space?
Man, the silos are, like you said, like the space itself does so much for the experience of the reading, the auditory piece, and then we center it, or we have like a musical act in there, and we have some kind of visual art piece. So it's like, the idea is like just a multidisciplinary explosion of poetic existence or something. And I think that people are not, we have, I think, several people who just come every time, but like the people who've never been, they're like, what the hell is this? But they often leave like, that was so fun and wild and not at all what I thought. And the poets equally are like, this is crazy. Like, what are we doing here? But they're also like, this is special. Like, I'll never forget this. Yeah. And the fact that it's doing that for all those people, like, we have to find ways to keep it going. That's why we keep it going. Like, yeah. I'm like, it's important to have something that also feels very specifically Buffalo. Yeah. We're in these grain silos that are a huge part of the history of this region. And how do we honor that? Like, it's a way of honoring it. And the fact that Rick Smith has let us do this over the years is a huge, it's just, I can't thank him enough. And just Buffalo, like how we've managed to like find a few dollars. Like, we're raising money to put on a poetry read in the grain silo.
Yeah, that's cool.
But it's cool, man, and it's a big community thing too.
Yeah. Talk about transforming someone's experience of what a poetry reading should be. You're actively doing the work that you find important with that event. That's really cool. And the multidiscipline crossover. Okay, yeah. This is another good segue. Yeah. Like, Plant Water.
Yes.
Embodies that exact thing. Can you talk about what that project is like?
Yeah. So Kev Kane, longtime friend of that guy. When I first moved here, I'll try to do this fairly quickly. This could go on for a long time. So when I first moved here in 2012, Kev was running this place on Main Street called The Vault.
Oh, R.I.P. What a
R.I.P. And I
place.
I think it ended shortly after this show. So this band called Water Liars was playing at the Vault. I can't remember. This was like summer, maybe it was the fall. I can't remember exactly when it was. And I ended up like seeing Water Liars. I was hearing Water Liars. They had this thing on NPR about them, whatever. I was like, wow, they're coming to Buffalo. They're playing this place called the Vault. I had no idea what the Vault was. So I called the Vault thinking it was a venue. Like, yeah. Left a message. Hey, can I get tickets? Da-da-da. Eventually, I called back. I'm like, I can't get a hold of whoever this is. And eventually, Kev answered the phone. He's like, you don't need tickets, just show up. Yeah. So I showed up, and we didn't really interface at that thing. But a few months passed, and we ended up talking about the silos, because he was also doing this local music production down at the Grain Silos called Silo Sessions, where he was recording stuff with Jeff Mace and Ben Jura, and releasing local stuff. I think it was every week or every other week, and that was awesome.
Yeah, that was a cool run.
And I was like, we got to talk, man. And we connected over Silo City, and we've basically been having, and he says this, and I think it's pretty accurate, the same conversation for like 10 years. But, so with that said, Plant Water, because Kev is also, being such a good friend, he invites me into all these spaces that he inhabits, and he was like, hey man, do you want to come and read poems just pop in and read some poems with Plant Water? I was like, sure. Like, I don't know. Sure. Like I didn't know what it was at the time. Like it was kind of like a jazz experimental. I guess it's not really jazz, but I don't know how you would define it. Like kind of ambient-ish, noise-ish.
Yeah. Experimental, I guess, is the umbrella for most of that. It's hard to like pin down what that would be called, but yeah.
And they're, those dudes are wild. You know what I mean? Like Ryan and Patrick, like those dudes, what? I'm trying to think of like how we exactly got into that project.
Well, was the album part of the project always meant to be, or was that something that kind of got added on, or?
Right. So let me backtrack. I got some funding from a NISCA grant. And in the NISCA grant, they're like, you have to do some kind of public performance. And in the grant, I was like, I'm also going to release some poems as a chapbook. And so then I contacted my friend Ariel Berg-Reiger, who was in Los Angeles at the time, just moved back to Buffalo a few weeks ago. And she's like a designer, artist, visual storyteller, incredible person. I was like, hey, do you think you could work on this project, help me design this chapbook? I love your work. I want to do stuff with you. She's like, yeah, sure. And then I don't know exactly how Kev got pulled into this. He's going to be pissed about that. But, they were like, we're going to do performance. Oh, yeah, and Kev was doing stuff with the Birchfield Penny. Oh, okay. And he's like, hey, because he was going to do another thing with the Birchfield Penny. He was talking to Sonny and John over there. And then we met with Sonny, and we're like, hey, maybe we could do this performance where I'm reading, Plant Water's playing music, and Ariel's doing these projection collage things in the background. And then it just, over time, it ballooned into like, maybe we could record this into a live record. And I was just like, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I mean, still, like, we rehearsed every week, a couple of times a week. It was a whole thing. And then we just did this performance in October where we released the record. We were selling them at actual books. Pat Cooley was selling them at actual books.
That's awesome.
David Mitchell did all these vinyl cuts in his studio. It was just it all happened really quick, but the amount, it took a lot of effort.
I believe that.
Yeah.
But another incredible expression of community and cross collaboration.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, just your MO was at play there.
It was I think I've just, looking back on it, just felt like there was a lot going on. Plus there was a lot going on at work, family stuff. And, Plant Water was incredible. Ariel was incredible. You're right. Like everybody came on. It just, like, everybody was like, yes, let's do this thing. Like everybody was saying yes at every corner. I was like, I guess we're doing it then.
That's what impresses me the most. And maybe this is specific to Buffalo. I kind of believe it because I've talked to other people. But when I make a film here and people are willing to like just give me their time and they show up and they're like, they got a smile and they're like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
That's incredible to me. Like those people feel rare, but here there's a supply of them. People that are willing to like support your work and give to you without expecting anything in return. And then when that happens, it's just like a circle because you want to give to them. And that's the beautiful part of it.
I agree. I think you're right. I think that we're blessed to be in a community of artists specifically who are willing to share resources, share time, give time, I should say, and make something cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, 'cause
right.
I think that it's just really impressive, and I love that we're able to keep doing stuff here.
Yeah, me too. Okay, we're closing in on the end.
Okay. This is great, man.
I think that I've noticed, could be a little off by a year or two here, but that you kind of manage to publish something every 3 years or so. That seems to be your track. Are you set to meet that again? And how is the feeling about whatever new that's in the cooker for you right now?
That's generous. I don't know. Like, I don't have like, I got to do a thing by a certain time. I was really, really happy with the last book, Exclusions, except it was released literally in the middle of the pandemic.
Oh.
So I couldn't really do a lot of readings, like real readings. Like I did like this thing where I would go to people's porches and read and da-da-da. But so the record that we released with Plant Water was called Fatigue Performance. And I basically read the first section of my next book for that project.
I see.
So there's another, I don't know, 40 or 45, 50 poems in the collection that I feel good about. I've been sending that manuscript to publishers. It's gotten some positive responses, I should say. I feel good. I'm kind of like done with it. Like I'm moving on to, even whether it gets published or not, I'm kind of shelving it, I should say. I'm going to still send it to places. Like I'm talking to some editors and stuff. But I'm moving on to new poems. So I'm excited to be back. I hate saying it. I'm going to say it anyway. Back on the horse.
Yes. Welcome back.
Bro, writing new poems, because I think that's the most exciting place to be, is like in the making space.
Yeah, definitely.
And you don't know where it's going to go. So I'm really, again, excited to be in a new year. Last year was kind of shitty, even though there was cool stuff that happened. It was a shitty year.
Yeah, overall.
And I'm really hopeful. Actually, after this week's event, but like I'm hopeful for things in the future.
Yes.
Same.
Same. Well, since you're talking about the future, let me just flip it around and talk about the distant past for a second here.
Yeah.
We'll close up on this. In my research for this interview, I found a video of you reading a poem 20 years ago, a great poem called Good Time Jesus by James Tate.
Yeah, man.
And I was wondering if you might take us out with another reading of it.
Oh, man. I would be honored.
All right.
Yeah, that is such, man, I'm impressed. James Tate, man, this guy, he was one of my gateway poets.
Oh.
When I was younger, like his selected poems, this dude is so weird and wild and funny and just like opened up an entire world for me. And this was one of the poems that did that.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, it says Good Time Jesus by James Tate. Jesus got up one day a little later than usual. He had been dreaming so deep there was nothing left in his head. What was it? A nightmare. Dead bodies walking all around him. Eyes rolled black, skin falling off. But he wasn't afraid of that. It was a beautiful day. How about some coffee? Don't mind if I do. Take a little ride on my donkey. I love that donkey. Hell, I love everybody.